And welcome to Civil Discourse. I'm Jamie Wojciechowski, and today our panel is discussing the Dakota Access Pipelines. Would you both like to introduce yourselves real fast and just give a quick history of yourselves as activists?
I'll go ahead and start. My
Go
name
ahead.
is Jessica Domino. I am a Tlingit from Southeast Alaska. I live and work in the Seattle area.
Go ahead, Cindy. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Halito, asa Chiefo Cindy Beach LaMar, Micha Mississippi Chata Siohoke. I have been active in the civil rights community here in Seattle for about 6 or 7 years, working very closely with Millie Kennedy. And I'm retired, so I have plenty of time to devote to civil activities and really bringing the issues, the awareness out to people.
Awesome. And Millie is having technical issues, but hopefully she joins us at some point too. So last week I did 2 interviews on the Dakota Access Pipeline. One was more on specifically what was going on there, and the other one was a little bit more on how it was affecting people who weren't directly involved in the protests. So I guess I would like to, if either of you can give kind of a breakdown of what's kind of happened in the last week with the protests, that would be great.
Well, first of all, we don't really refer to the protesters as protesters. They're water protectors, and that's what they're doing. They're protecting their rights to water, to clean water, the rights to their land, and the right to life, actually, because water is life. And this past Sunday in Seattle, we held a rally to get out awareness because, you know, mainstream media, there's Millie, mainstream media is not doing us any favors. So we have to get out the word in other ways, and social media, like your show, is one way to do that.
Millie, would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Yes, my name is Millie Kennedy. I'm Tsimshian from Southeast Alaska, and I'm also an attorney and an activist along with these 2 beautiful women.
Awesome. And we're just discussing, to catch you up, we're just discussing what's happening in with the protests and everything that's going on. We talked about how last week we did 2 interviews, and then we're kind of seeing what has transitioned and what has happened and grown in the past week. So would you like to comment that, you or Jessica?
Go ahead.
Yeah. There's been a lot happening since a week ago when you met with Matt. As we know, the movement is growing. The tribes went from the state of Washington over to Standing Rock, and we had our rally last Sunday. We decided to have the rally because we're a huge urban Indian community, and as Cindy and Jessica may have said, we can't make it over to Standing Rock, so we decided that we had to do something about this at a picnic that Jessica and I were at. And so we 4, myself, Cindy, Jessica, and her mother, Laverne Wise, decided to have a rally. And Cindy and I have been doing rallies in the greater Seattle area for several years together. We're a team, and now we're adding Jessica to our team. So we have roughly 88,000 urban Indians in the greater Seattle area, and that includes King, Snohomish, and Pierce County. So with 88,000 urban Indians in this area, and Jessica's going to like this, over 5,000 of them are Tlinkits. And I'm not a Tlingit, but I'm married to one. I was at a Tlingit and had a picnic, and I was live streaming everybody at the picnic just to have fun, and they started talking about the Dakota Access Pipeline. So this is how the rally came about, and I called Cindy up and said, "Hey, Cindy, are you ready to rally again?" And so she's always ready, and so Cindy does her stuff, I do my stuff. I'm the one who does the permitting, and she does the press releases and uh, does the Facebook invite, and then Jesse helped us co uh, MC it, or whatever you want to call it. Co-whip the first rally, and we're having another one tomorrow.
Awesome. And Jessica, do you want to just talk about, I guess, the rally and how you think it went and stuff like that?
So our Seattle rally was truly inspirational for a lot of people who hadn't necessarily had a chance to hear or see what was going on, either through the Facebook feeds or through personal interactions from family that were coming back. It was one of those moments in our Seattle area where it was a gathering of many Indigenous peoples from across the Sound. And for myself personally, I felt a huge connection back to where my cousins and my other family members who are part of the Sioux Nation are living.
Yeah, it was interesting because I'm in Los Angeles, and we had on Saturday there was a big Enough is Enough rally, and it really was a Bernie Sanders organization that now is trying to transition, and they kind of did a rally just on progressive issues. And one of the interesting things for me was this was really the first time at a rally like this that I've attended or that I've heard of where a big part of it was members of the Sioux Nation and different Native American tribes talking about what was going on and the issues facing those communities. So do you see a transition, I guess, of awareness throughout the country as a whole on these issues?
Personally, from what I've seen, sadly, it's because of the media blackout that's happened in the mainstream media. It's really hard to see the changes within the consciousness of the U.S. for the overall population. I know that there are pockets of allies who are going through some of the same sort of struggles when it comes to civil unrest within their own communities, and they themselves are coming and standing with us. And I say we because it doesn't matter where you're at or where you're from. In an Indigenous area, we're all family to each other. And something like this is one of those moments where it pulls all of us together.
And that's very apparent what's happening actually down at Standing Rock right now. You have tribes who have historically been enemies who are now standing side by side with each other for a common goal, and that's for their, oops, I just lost my phone. The preservation of their water. And hundreds of tribes together. And it's history in the making. That's what it is. It's history in the making that we're all witnessing and getting out the word.
I know for our Tlingit Nation from Alaska, we have a canoe, one of our canoes that's coming down from Alaska that's already on its way over to Standing Rock. And they're taking supplies. They gathered together. They took supplies from here in the Seattle area, gathered more of our Tlingit and Haida members that live here in the urban setting, and we're taking them with them over there to the Standing Rock Reservation to be united with our Standing Rock brothers and sisters. I'm really proud of our Tlingit and Haida people and our Tlingit and Haida Executive Council for writing a resolution and standing in solidarity with the Standing Rock Sioux. We were one of the first tribal nations to be able to do that. And I was extremely proud of our president and our Executive Council for doing that.
Yeah, so going back to the talking about, I guess, the mainstream media blackout, do you feel that it's essential to break through that blackout, or do you feel that it's kind of useless and there has to be other ways of going around building the awareness at this point?
I don't feel like it's useless, Jamie. I think that we're at a serious turning point in our country involving politics where we've had probably the most contentious presidential race in my lifetime. And I'm 58 years old. And as you know, I was a Bernie national delegate, and Bernie spent a lot of time educating a lot of Bernie-crats around the country about Native Americans. I went to 2 of his rallies in Seattle, Washington, and both times he spent at least 10 minutes or more during his rallies talking about Native American history, acknowledging it, and validating it for us. And that's something new for us to be having somebody do that, because nobody wants to talk about the shameful history in the United States. It's not my shame, it's not Cindy's shame, it's not Jessica's shame, but it's history's shame. It's not your shame either, Jamie. So to have somebody like Bernie Sanders bring that to the forefront, I really think that's why a lot of Bernie followers are jumping on the bandwagon and getting behind the Dakota Access Pipeline issue, because I look at the Bernie pages every day and they're like flooded with no Dakota Access Pipeline. Water is life. People are constantly posting everything on social media, and we aren't the only major city who's done a protest. There was one in Billings, Montana. You mentioned LA, and I know they had one a couple of weeks ago as well that I watched on live streaming. There was one in Dallas, Texas, I believe yesterday. So we decided we were going to call all the cities, do a shout out to all of them, to challenge them at our rally to have protests every week until we stop this pipeline, because many of us cannot make it there. But I talked to a friend who, she's African American, and we were talking about the Black Lives Matter movement and how everybody's always arguing about, oh yeah, Black Lives Matter, Native Lives Matter, all lives matter. But you know what? The Black Lives Matter movement is a movement that is attached to police brutality and the modern day lynching of African American men. That's a hashtag, that's a movement. We don't have to compete. So we could have our own separate movement, and we don't have to call it Native Lives Matter. If it's no Dakota Access Pipeline, so be it. I think that this is our time to have a movement. It's time for people to attend our rallies and support us, because we've been supporting all kinds of people in this country, and we are the first people Indigenous, or we are the people that are Indigenous in this nation, and we don't get a lot of attention. But you talk about mainstream media, we're such a smidgen of a race, and I'm not trying to say that to insult my people. If people know the history of the United States, they understand why there's so few of us due to the genocide of our people through smallpox and everything else that happened throughout history.